Do you want to know what really creeps me out? Kids' TV shows and the conspiracy theories that surround them. The internet is full of them, and they're slowly but surely ruining our childhoods. I'm Sam Wraith, and I've gathered 8 fascinating cartoon theories that will leave you itching for some serious series marathons. Welcome to My Childhood Ruined. First in, at number 8, we have the Courage the Cowardly Dog theory. In this theory, Courage is just a normal dog, and he sees the world through a dog's eyes. All the villains in the show are just normal people, but to this little dog they seem scary. They don't actually live in the middle of nowhere, but since his owners are too old to take him outside for walks, he only knows what's in his immediate surroundings, and everything beyond that is nothing, because he's never seen it. Next up at 7, we have the Powerpuff Girls theory. The 3 girls, Blossom, Bubbles and Buttercup, are all actually figments of one host personality, whose name is unknown to the audience, but all the conventions of this video will call her Brenda. The cause for the development of multiple personality disorder in Brenda originates from bullying in her early childhood by her older brother, whose actual character is unknown to the audience, but it manifests in Brenda's hallucinations as Mojo Jojo, the girl's greatest nemesis. Third on my list of childhood destroyers is ScoobyDoo. This theory dictates that the original ScoobyDoo series is set after a horrible economic depression. Everything is abandoned and falling apart, and all of the villains are actually people who would normally be respected, i.e. professors, museum curators and celebrities, who have fallen into hard times just like everyone else and have had to turn to crime to make ends meet. Fourth on my list, and coming in at 5, is Garfield. Here's one that gives me chills. In Garfield, that is. The theory is that John and Odie don't exist. Garfield is actually dying of starvation and just imagining John and Odie. There was a reference to this in a Halloween themed comic where Garfield woke up in a condemned and abandoned house. He calls out for Odie and John over and over again, but there was no answer. He then wills the illusion back on himself and continues his delusions about his family. Which leads us to 4th place, and the interesting theory about the Flintstones, which explains the family's Christmas celebrations and modern technology in what we are led to believe is BC. Remember, the Flintstones originally aired from 1960 to 1966 at the height of the Cold War. So what if nuclear showdown between the Soviets and Americans was what blew bedrock to Kingdom Come? What if the Flintstones are us in the future, clinging to the best of our past as we rebuild? The familiar technology, entertainment and religion are all that remain from the fractured memories of a shattered history that never was. 3rd place goes to Dexters Laboratory. How could a kid have a laboratory in his house, you ask? One theory insists that he didn't, and it was all in fact in his head. As a socially awkward child, Dexter relied heavily on his imagination. His so-called rivals were his few friends with similarly huge imaginations. When they played together, the usual fantastical Dexter's lab shenanigans would begin. Dexter's big imagination can also explain his bizarre accent. And just missing out on pole position on this spine-tingling countdown, we have the theory that Spongebob SquarePants is all about drugs at number 2. The theory dictates that Spongebob SquarePants himself is on methamphetamines. He's always really happy, energetic and occasionally paranoid. If he ever is in a bad mood, it's the result of a major crash. He goes from really happy to really sad or really angry. There's no middle ground. Patrick Star is a stoner. He laughs at stupid things and eats all of the time. He must go through a lot of weed. Squidward Tentacle is on heroin. He's always down and yells at Spongebob for being hyped up and energetic. Mr. Krabs is on coke. He's really uppity and he's always concerned about money, i.e. coke is expensive. Finally, Sandy Cheeks is just an alcoholic. She ruins every episode she's in because she's always been drinking. Which means taking the top spot and winning the award for the creepiest children's cartoon theory is the Regress Theorem at number 1. In this twisted telling of the classic 90s TV show, the Rugrats are really a figment of Angelica's imagination. Chucky died in childbirth along with his mother, that is why Chaz is a nervous wreck all the time. Tommy was born stillborn, that's why Stu is constantly in the basement making toys for the son who he never had a chance to live. The DeVilles had an abortion. Angelica couldn't figure out whether it would be a boy or girl, thus creating twins, one each sex. As for All Grown Ups, Angelica was a bipolar schizophrenic, who as a teenager became addicted to various narcotics, bringing her back to her childhood, thus creating a world in her mind that she obsessed over. Because of time lapse between the present and the last time she interacted with her imaginary world, she made them older. Angelica was constantly taking hits of acid, so she would never have to live without her creations. To her, her creations were her only company in a judgmental world. The apparent reason for this is because Angelica's mum actually died of a heroin overdose. Angelica was schizophrenic and bipolar because she was a crack baby. Additionally, Drew, in his depression, married a gold digger that Angelica idolised because she fooled herself into thinking it was her real mum. However, she always had the concept of her mother, Cynthia. She used a Barbie doll to mirror her birth mother's image, wearing an unwashed orange dress and jacked up hair, which is why she was so attached to it. Later in life, she followed in her mother's footsteps, dying of an overdose at age 13 when All Grown Up was cancelled. The only Rugrat not to be fictional, however, was unborn Tommy's brother Dill. However, Angelica didn't know the difference between Dill and her creations. Dill didn't follow her commands, and after endless crying and refusal to disappear like the others did when Angelica was angry with them, she hit him. After she hit him, he screamed a screeching tune and Stu ran in, pulled his knee off his only child, but it was too late. Dill had a brain hemorrhage which resulted in deformation. As he grew up, his damage only became more evident, and by the time he was 9, in All Grown Up, he lived as an outcast, being ridiculed for his weirdness and retardation. The immense guilt over this is what caused Angelica to start using drugs and to uncreate the Rugrats briefly until her experience with hallucinogenics. Chaz lost his mind after the death of his first wife and was in denial that she was ever a prostitute. On a trip to Paris to find love, Chaz fell in love with a hooker named Kira. He was originally going to marry a different hooker, but she just wanted him for his money. Kira once had a daughter named Kimmy, but the baby was torn from her by law due to her cocaine addiction. Angelica imagined Kimmy from Kira's stories. Upon return to America, Chaz and Kira married and she got her green card. It was a surprisingly happy and romantic story. However, Kira continually struggled with addiction, but was relatively happy with her new life with Chaz. Susie was Angelica's only friend, who entertained the thought of Angelica's creations because they seemed to make her happy. She later became a psychologist and teamed up with Nickelodeon to make Rugrats. When Angelica died of an overdose, Susie helped arrange her funeral. Because of her addictions and her mental state, Angelica was expelled from society, which led to a break with reality and her eventual death. She spent the last days of her life in the back of the school cafeteria, imagining friends around her and playing with the lives of her creations. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope I didn't ruin your childhood too much. make sure to leave a comment about what you thought, and as always, if you could like, subscribe and follow me on Twitter at SamAllenWraith for more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.